Hello, Rhona. How are you?
Good, and you?
Lekker, man. Nice to have you on. I want to call it a show, but I don't really know how many people watch or listen to this, to be honest. It might just be two of your friends when you share this.
That's awesome. I love to share it with my friends, even if it's only two.
Cool. Well, it's most likely just going to be two.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Nice to have you here, dude. I think we met last week at Entrepreneur of the Year. We were judges on the panel. That was a really cool experience.
That was incredible. I'm still in a bit of a high after that, to be quite honest.
Exactly. Me too. And someone actually asked me this week, they said, what was the biggest takeaway from the 3 days that you spent there? And, it got me thinking, and I have my answer, but before I do, I want to maybe just find out what, you thought of the week and what was some of the biggest takeaways that you took away from that event.
Okay, so before I'm going to answer this, I just want to, there's a disclaimer. Okay, my English is like prepaid. I don't know when it's going to run out. So just bear with me if there's a few Afrikaans words in between.
That's all good.
So I think the biggest takeaway for me was just being in a room with like-minded individuals and seeing how people really want other people to succeed. And you would know because you were next to me the whole time, but the other judges and the entrepreneurs, we had such nice discussions about how to actually scale their businesses and how to market better. And for me, the big thing was just that everyone wanted everyone else to do good.
100%. And also, I think the other takeaway was there's a ton of opportunity in this country still.
Absolutely. I think we haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, I think a lot of people walk around very pessimistic about what's happening in the country. And I'm a big believer that, if you're going to continue focusing on the negative, that's what you will continuously find. But it was definitely an eye-opener and also just an affirmation or a testament of the fact that there is a lot of opportunity still in this country. And the people who are the ones who are pushing themselves out of their comfort zones and really taking some form of risks are the ones who are capitalizing on that.
Definitely. It was more Afrikaans entrepreneurs, right? The one thing that I see a lot of the times is that people struggle to want the sun to shine over everyone. And I think in business and when we're entrepreneurs, I think my passion and what I would like to see happen is that people actually start supporting local businesses. It really makes a difference. A like on a post or a share. That's things that really make a difference. That doesn't cost you anything. I think a lot of people also, it's always about the money, and I don't have the money to spend, but that's not necessarily what you have to do. But I think if we support one another, and if our friends and our family and the people that we surround ourselves with support small and medium enterprises in our country, I really think we're going to see a big change.
I heard a quote not so long ago, but it was very interesting, and it's what you're saying now, and I think it's very applicable because it said that people at the bottom compete and people at the top collaborate.
Yes, I love that.
And it's
Definitely.
such a cool quote because I think that's what we realized at that event as well. There's a lot of opportunity. The kind of caliber of people are the ones that want you to do well and wants everybody to do well.
Yes.
And the big thing about entrepreneurs, especially, I suppose, maybe I want to say in this country, but I'm assuming it's everywhere, is that we want people to do well, but we don't want them to do better than us.
That's the truth. But I think it's a mindset as well.
Yeah.
I think when you put it out there that you really, really authentically want other people to do well, I think things are going to turn out well for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's all what you put out is what you get back, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about you, man. I mean, that's the reason we're here. But I mean, let's talk a little bit about what you're all about. I mean, for those who don't know, Rhona, once again, welcome. Maybe just do a quick intro to who you are, what you do, and what you're all about.
So, pertaining to business and entrepreneurship, I've had a few businesses, started a few businesses. I currently have Trouville Boutique Day Spa in Midstream Estate. And then a friend and myself recently started a skincare business, REALSKIN, that we're very excited about. It's a proudly South African product. It's made in South Africa. It's bottled here. And yeah, we are all about challenging the status quo in terms of skincare. So that's very exciting.
Let's talk a little bit about Trouville. So the spa, where's it situated? And I mean, also, how long has it been running? And would like to get into the nitty-gritties of running a business like that. I think there's a lot of people who aspire to be like you in that sense where, you know, they might want to own their own local business. And I think maybe if we can get into that, there might be some value for someone.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I studied education. I was a teacher for a while, and it's almost like business found me. I never set out to go into business or to become an entrepreneur. It just happened. I don't have parents that's entrepreneurs. So I really believe that there's something within me that just drew this to me. So my first business was actually a baby house. It's like a school that was still a little bit in the education sector. And then when we started Trouville, it was actually myself and two friends. We thought, how hard can it be to start a spa? I mean, we like going to spas, and we know what we like, so how hard can it be? And we opened in 2019. And 2020 happened, COVID, everything closed down. It was a tough time. For the beauty industry, it was hectic. Most establishments closed down in that time. Only the big boys, you know, the franchises, the Solstice and the big names, they survived it. But luckily, we're in Midstream Estate. It's in Centurion. It's more or less in between Joburg and Pretoria, so it's a great area to be in. We have a nice captive audience there. And I think that's one thing that helps us a lot, is it's very safe where we are. So you can really relax when you're there. Yeah, so it was tough times in the beginning, and we've made a lot of mistakes, but I also believe that that's part of the journey, and that's how you learn in the end.
So my question is, the thought was, how hard could it be? Yeah. And my question is, how hard is it?
It's quite tough. I think the industry is a tough industry. Number one, to make money. It's not the easiest industry, I believe, to make money in. And then also it's quite cutthroat. You know, the ladies in the industry, it's usually mostly ladies. If you're not one of the big players, as I said, one of the franchises or one of the bigger spas and aesthetic clinics, then it's not that easy. But I also believe that we make things hard sometimes. And I also like to always go back to basics. So when I perceive something as being very hard or very difficult, I start asking myself, isn't it just because that's how I see it or I view it at this point in time? And to actually just go back to things does not always have to be so hard and so complex. I really believe that we make things very complex in our lives, most people, and that most things, there's an easy solution. Yeah.
I want to ask you, you said it's a tough industry and making money is quite hard. Do you have maybe a few reasons why that is the case, or why you perceive it to be the case?
I think it's quite expensive. The products that you use in a spa environment or in a beauty aesthetics environment, it's quite expensive. So your margins are not that big. It can't be, because then it's going to be too expensive for the end user. So things like rent and, you know, the basics that you have to pay every month, if you can get that as low as possible, then you can make more money. But and also it depends on how busy you are. I mean, if the establishment is quite busy, then that's great. But, and we spoke a little bit about this earlier as well, is that in the industry, in the beauty industry, and especially in a spa environment, people don't really go on a random Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Everyone wants to go over weekends. So you sit with a situation where you're usually fully booked over weekends, but there is quieter days. And to try and monetize those days or try and run some specials or doing things like that, I've seen helps a lot. We have like on a Tuesday, it's for elderly people that's on pension, so they get discounts on certain days, which is also giving back to the community a little bit. And that also helps. Die ou tannies geniet dit verskriklik. They love coming to the spa. So yeah, it's nice for us to do things.
Yeah, I think not everybody really thinks through everything that needs to be thought through when it comes to starting any local business, but I think a beauty business specifically, because like you said, it is quite expensive to run. You're sitting with a situation where the capacity is hypothetically at 100% if you had to quantify it, but there's only 2 days a week when people actually want to come.
Yeah.
So if you had to fill your weekends, and if the weeks are open, you're most likely going to run at a 30 to 40% capacity.
Yes.
And that's why trying to find people in the week is so important. It's the same thing with hospitality as well. Guest houses. We have a client they in the Mabalingwe area.
Oh, yes.
And it's always like the mission to fill those weeks. So they averaged running at about 70% capacity. The goal is to get to 80. But it's like you need to understand that your spa is never going to be fully full all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a percentage of wastage, if that's really what it is. The other question, well, you said we make it harder than it needs to be sometimes, and we had a conversation earlier about our minds and our perspective around situations and events. I think most business owners live in anxiety and fear, and normally that's 100% how it most likely is for everybody. It's not that it's unique to a specific individual. But when times get tough, obviously it's so hard to stay open-minded. It's so hard to be goal-driven and just, what is the word I'm looking for? Just consistent with your level of thinking. Because the moment you're running at a loss, or the moment things are not going the way you want to, everything starts to spiral out of control. The question I want to ask is, how much has your mindset played a role in you running the businesses that you do at the moment?
So massive. I think mindset is everything in business. And that's why sometimes and we all get there, you get stressed, you get anxious. If you see you're not going to make the money that you're supposed to make this month, or you're running at a loss, as you said, then you get anxious. And I think that clouds your judgment as well. And you can't go in with a fresh approach or make creative new plans, because that's actually what an entrepreneur should be doing the whole time. You have to check out the landscape, see what's happening, and really be able to be creative in how you look at your business. So what I usually do when I realize that I'm in that space, and literally my head feels clouded, it feels like I can't really function as I should, then I take a step back, because you're so in this business and so in this moment. But then I take a step back and view it as if I'm not in that space at that time. And what would I, as someone from outside, do? Or what ideas or tips or tricks, or what would I tell someone else who's in this situation? Because a lot of the times then you get to the right answer, and if you zoom out a bit, you come to the right answer, and you can actually implement it creatively, and just see that it actually helps, and that your business can grow from that. But when we're so clouded, when your judgment is clouded, when your mind is clouded, you can't.
They say that the two most spiritual things that you can do is to get married and to start a business. And I truly believe in that, because it's the two things that are most likely the most challenging in your life. And embarking on those journeys, I think you start to notice and unpack parts of yourself, and you almost like you start to become aware of insecurities and issues. And another conversation we had, my question is, in essence, starting the spa and having had other businesses, what has it taught you about yourself? What have you learned about yourself over the last few years that you think the business and your ventures have shed light on? Any things that you spotted that you had to work on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think one of the positives is that I realized that I'm really very tenacious. I don't give up. And sometimes you get a bit deflated, but then I love a challenge. So I get excited in the face of adversity sometimes, because it makes me think out of the box. And I've realized that is when I do my best work as well, is when there's pressure. And then also, I think I've learned a lot during the years, it might be personal, but also in business, that you don't always have to give your side of the story. You don't always have to give your opinion. I was very opinionated when I was younger, and I wanted to tell everyone what I thought and why I thought that. And I think I just realized sometimes you just have to take a step back and be okay with people not knowing, because you get misunderstood a lot, especially when you are in the public eye or you are a business owner and people know you are, then you get judged quite harshly some of the times. And I've just realized that that's also okay. I'm always busy reading multiple books. So the last book that I remember specifically was The Diary of a CEO. And he speaks, Stephen Bartlett, or what's his job? Yeah. And he speaks about that you should actually aim for love or hate and not indifference. And I love that. When people look at you or look at your brand and they love it or they hate it, it just means that there's emotion connected to it. If they're indifferent about it, then you're never going to make sales. So I actually love that, because in the beginning, especially when I started out in business, you get so offended if people don't like what you're doing, or if they say something bad about your product or about your business. But nowadays I'm like, okay, bring it on. Let's see, because that's also the only way you can better yourself, is if you have critics, and if you can take a step back. And I always ask myself the question, is this true? Is this true about my business? If it's not, then I just let it be, let it go. But if it is, it's actually somewhere that I can grow as a person, but also as a business owner.
Yeah, I suppose like when it comes to the business, especially if you're the founder and you had the vision for it, it's so easily, possible to connect your ego to it. And every time someone has a bad experience, literally to me, if a client leaves or if a staff member leaves, it feels like a punch in the gut. It feels like I've let someone down. And I think I had to work on that part of myself and realize like you can only do your best. There are people who have had amazing experiences and are still having amazing experiences. The company is growing, but the reality is it's not everybody is going to have the most amazing experience when it comes to your business. And it's dealing with those, constructive criticisms or feedback that gets so very hard to do. But I think one thing I've been very fortunate is to just embrace it as much as you can, because I always think to myself, I'm not going to build the best agency or the best investment business if I don't take that advice seriously, or the perspective seriously, or feedback seriously. But then also, like you said, you have to find the balance between what's subjective and what's objective. What is actually objectively true about the business that you can improve, and what's just someone else's perspective that's based on their own biases and their own maybe a bad experience that might have been in hindsight as opposed to at your company.
I think like at Trouville, at my spa, it's people working with people. And so things are bound to go haywire sometimes, and I always try and explain this to clients if they're unhappy about something, and rightly so, if something was not right or the treatment wasn't up to standard. I always think it's not machines working with machines, it's people working with people. So miscommunication happens, I wanted this thing, you gave me that thing. But I also think we can really overcome most of it if the other party is also willing to get over it. Sometimes people just complain to complain because they can. And
entitled.
And they're entitled. And in the beginning of having businesses, it really got to me, and I just wanted everyone to be happy. And I got to a point where I will really try and make you happy with whatever your needs is within the restraints of what I can give you. But if you're not, and I did what I needed to do, then go somewhere else, really, because you're never going to be happy then. And I think some people that complain is really unhappy with themselves.
100%, 1,000% believe that. My question is, when it comes to the spa that you guys have built, there's a lot of people, like I said earlier, who aspire to be maybe like you guys. For someone who is thinking about it, or someone who's maybe just started, I know there's a lot of them because they come through our system quite often. Like we work with a lot of beauty businesses on our lead generation side. What would be just top level advice, for anybody starting out when it comes to a local business? specifically in the beauty space?
So I think location is very important. You need to have an audience with a higher LSM. And yeah, so obviously that will mean that your rent or acquiring that space will be more expensive. But I think location is everything in the beauty business, especially if it's an establishment like mine that you want people to relax and to have a 5-star experience. Then your location, and also what the interior looks like, how it makes me feel from when I walk in, the whole experience throughout. So it really is in the details. And that's how you set yourself apart from the spa down the road or the beauty bar at someone's home, with a cat climbing on you and we have it a lot. I mean, in the estate, there is multiple beauty businesses that people run from their homes. But it's a whole different feel. I want to go to a spa because I want to relax and I want to feel like I'm getting away from a home environment, the cats and the dogs and the huddy-dus, and I want to have nice music and maybe drink a nice glass of wine or a nice coffee. So it's more about the experience than it is, the actual treatment that people go for. And I really believe in any business, people want to feel heard and they want to feel special. If you can do that for your clients, you're 90% there.
Mm. Location and experience. I think a lot of people underestimate the location side because we think that we can do marketing.
Yeah.
And we've seen you can make a difference with marketing. If you had to run an ad or an offer in the market, someone might click and say, hey, that's cool. I might drive out of my way in order to go and get that experience. But it's very hard to get people off their bloody asses. So it's just a matter of people seeing the opportunity as they pass and go, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
Next time when I'm in the area, I'm going to maybe look at it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. And especially being in an estate environment, like where my spa is, people don't want to drive out. So even if you take that establishment and you put it 5 k's down the road, it will not work that well. So I think you really need to spend time and effort finding the right spot. But then also, with that being said, if you can keep your initial costs as low as possible, that would be great.
Yeah, finding the balance.
So there's certain things that you do not skimp on, but there's other things that you don't have to spend so much money on. And that was one of the biggest mistakes we made, is we set up the spa with the most amazing everything, and you could get more or less the same things for cheaper. And it wouldn't have, diluted the experience. So I think you really, it's not something that it's not going to happen within a day. You really need to plan it to the T and know what you want the experience to be like.
Amazing. 100%. Yeah, experience is so crucial, but that goes for any business, but I think more so hospitality and beauty, because that's the thing. People really are going out of their way to give you their time.
Yeah.
And what happens with their time is very crucial. Everybody is selfish.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their time to be the best time on planet Earth. So if I'm going to give you an hour of my time, I want that to be amazing. And it's not just about trying the product. It's really about the experience, like you said as well.
And remember, people don't see it, or a lot of people don't see it as a necessity. So the first thing that goes when people struggle financially as well, and we saw it in COVID, is they stop going to places like that, because we see it as this nice to have extra thing, where I really believe that we need to invest in ourselves. And for a lady going to the spa and doing something with her nails, the way that makes her feel, I really believe that that's something huge. So for me, it's a necessity. In my life, looking after myself, inside out, has become a necessity, because that's the only way I can give back to other people, is when I recharge. And I do recharge in a spa environment. I know not everyone's like that, but there's a lot of people that really enjoy it. We have a lot of male clients as well that comes in for massages, that loves it. And it's just a way of, for that hour or that 90 minutes, just to relax, recharge, And when you go home, luckily it's very close to the living estates in Midstream. So most people maybe drive from work, come for a massage, and then you're well relaxed when you go home. So that's great.
I want to ask you a question. When you get in the mood to go to the spa, do you go to your own one or do you go to a different one?
So I go to a lot of different spas. If I travel, then I usually first I check out where the spas are. And I actually do it to see if there's something I can do better at my spa. And I have to honestly say I've been in France, in Dubai, in a lot of places I've been to spas, and I never get the quality that I get at my own spa. And it's not because I'm biased. It's just because the ladies that work with me are amazing. Their skill level is very high. And all of them have the same skill level. So you're not going to get there and one day you're going to get a massage that feels like you were in heaven, and the next day you're going to get a massage from someone else that doesn't feel that good. So the training is very important. They're all very well trained. And so when I want to relax, I usually go to my own spa because I know what I'm going to get there. But then also I love going to other spas, and there's really nice establishments to go to. What I've found is the bigger spa groups, it's beautiful. So the establishment's beautiful. And maybe, when you go to Cape Town, you're on a wine farm. It's just this beautiful place. But the quality of the treatment and how you feel in that environment is not on par.
You say it's not as consistent?
It's definitely inconsistent, but also, in the industry, in the beauty industry, a lot of the therapists and nail techs, they need to sell. They need to sell product. They have certain margins and certain incentives, or they only get paid their full commission if they sell enough product. And that is how it works at most spas and beauty establishments. So for me, it always feels like when I go to those places that they wanting to sell me something that I don't really need. And I instantly get put off by that.
I'm the same.
And then also their whole demeanor changes when you tell them. I usually go to places, then I'm like, listen, I have a skincare brand that I use. I'm happy with all of this. I just want to come and have a nice massage. And then most of the times, really, the whole demeanor changes, and you can feel the energy is not as it was when you started out. And I always tell my ladies, it's really your energy. You actually touch people, so you're imparting your energy on them. So if your energy is low that day, the client will feel it, even if you've done all the same things. They're all going to feel it. So it's very important for me that the ladies that work with me are energized and come into the spa with the right energy.
Taken care of as well. Let's talk a little bit about the skincare brand.
Yes.
So you've got the spa, which is really cool, and then you've also got the skincare brand REALSKIN.
Yep.
So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Because so that actually started out, as I said, the margins in the beauty industry is not that big because you buy expensive product from other people. So I wanted to have something that I can just use in my spa that will cost me less, but that's still a premium brand, so that I can, obviously, at the end of the day, make more money. And one of my very good friends wanted to do makeup. She wanted to start a makeup brand. And we had a glass of wine together, and we were like, well, why don't we collab with this? And we start with the skincare, because obviously if you put makeup on your skin, you can only hide that much if your skin is not looking well. So let's first start with the skin and sort that out, and then we can also go into the makeup, which also takes much longer to develop because there's color in it. So it from that perspective, it takes much longer because there's color variants and it has to stabilize. So it's a bit easier to manufacture skincare. Okay. So then we decided, well, this is actually a very cool product. And because we're both moms and business owners and we're busy, and not Magdal or myself like titivating a lot, so we wanted something that you have a small, it's a small product range, but it's potent.
It's not like you have to put 20
So
different products.
no, not at all. And we really wanted to, and that's why I said in the beginning, we're challenging the beauty industry and the skincare industry, because they want you to believe that you need 10 serums and that you need to double cleanse your face and you need to wash your face 3 times a day and you need to do all these things, which is actually not the truth. So if we can teach our skins with using skincare to regenerate new cells by itself, then actually we can all have great skin. So what our product does is it works on a much deeper level. So it's not like one of those brands that you put it on and it plumps. You can instantly see you're plumped. But then what that usually does is it's dead skin cells, and you just make it full of hydration, and it just goes up for 3 or 4 hours and then it goes down again. So we are more focused on the inner layers of the skin. So our serums penetrate very deeply. But what you get after 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, you will see a difference, because then it's new cells and new skin cells that starts to form. And obviously it comes from the inside out. So, very excited about that. It's tried and tested. I love the product. I always tell people I'm not a salesperson. I can really not sell anything unless I believe in it. And I will not put my name on something that I don't believe in. So Real Skin is really like, it's our baby, and it's only in its early stages, but I foresee that it's really going to take over the market and it's really going to fly.
What has been some of the most difficult challenges in starting that brand?
Packaging. Really? Packaging in South Africa, if you have money and you want to start a business, start a packaging company, like seriously. Packaging in South Africa is a big problem because everyone has more or less the same look. And the thing is, we can all import, but then you have to import thousands or tens of thousands of each product. So initially when you start out, you don't have the capital maybe to, spend a million rand on packaging. So we need solutions in South Africa. And obviously we found the best or the closest to what we wanted from the get-go, but it's not even 50% what we want. So it still looks nice and it works, and it's aesthetically nice to the eye, but we would rather manufacture something in the near future ourselves or get someone to manufacture for us exactly what we want. But the thing is, when you start a company, I always believe you need to start it with as little money as you can,
Bootstrap.
So even if you have millions of rands to spend, I always believe, let's start small and let's just see where this goes. And we dream big. So that's one of my philosophies. I dream very big, but I start small, and I'm prepared to start small. So I actually folded, and this is one of many companies that I've started, but I folded the boxes, that the first batch of boxes that the products come in, I folded myself. So I believe that there should never come a time where you feel you are above doing the nitty-gritties. And it's also great, I'm not going to be doing that for long, hopefully, but it's good to see what needs to get done and how much time it takes. If you appoint someone to actually start doing those types of things, then you understand better. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. So packaging has been a tough one. In terms of formulations and stuff like that, has that been tricky at all to put together? Or?
I think if you know the right people and you have a reputable lab that you work with, I won't say it's easy, but the wheel has been created once and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of studies done on certain compilations in terms of skincare, and you actually use that. There's already studies done on all of that, and then you can put a little bit more of this or a little bit less of that. So it's not like it's something that's never been done before. It's just the amounts of raw materials that you put in. And obviously you want the best raw materials at the best price to really make a difference. But even with the skincare, I always also go back to basics and what do we really need. And as I said, we are very focused on the deeper layers of the skin. We obviously have stuff for your barrier because that's also important to protect your barrier, but we go much deeper. And that's why it's a medical grade product. And people need to also know how to use it.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, it's not something you're going to get on one of the big chain stores. You won't find it there because we need to actually tell people how to use it.
Sure.
To not do more damage than good.
And would you say that's one of your unique selling points?
Definitely, yeah. Listen, in terms of business, I'm sure we can make more money if we had a brand that's buffered and that's not that strong, but it's not really going to make a difference on people's faces.
I think as a business owner, like what you said, saying now is something crucial. It's like finding the balance between the mission and making the profits that can continue feeding the vision.
Yes.
You're going to have this beautiful mission and vision for the business and you want to help everybody, but if your company can't make profits, then you're not going to be able to live very long and get that right.
Yeah.
So, it's not an answer. It's not a straightforward answer, but like, how difficult was that to balance, essentially? Because on the one end, you could probably make a lot more profit if you just, dilute most of the stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is that really going to make the impact that you ideally desire?
Yeah. So I think it depends on what your mission statement for a certain company or a certain brand is. And for REALSKIN, we wanted something that really works. I'm all for being real and authentic. On my social media pages as well, I've always had the hashtag #RealRounds. And then I was part of a Real Housewives thing. So it is actually just something that sticked with me. And with REALSKIN, we really want to be authentic about beauty and about what we put on our skins. So for REALSKIN, it will always stay a medical graded product. I think if we have another brand, if we start another brand and it's a more diluted product, then there's a different vision statement for that. It's maybe for a lower LSM market and they can't afford the other things. You still know people will get the benefits. It's just going to take longer. So I don't think that is something that we're not looking at doing in the future, but it won't be under the REALSKIN brand.
I want to ask a silly question is like, when it comes to skincare, you see male products and female products. Is there really a big difference, or is skin just skin?
There's no difference. I believe skin is skin. You do get different complexions, and I do understand some people are more oily, some people skins are more or drier, but that's usually environmental. And then also what happens inside your body. If you're not healthy on the inside, you're not going to be healthy on the outside. And with skincare, you can only do so much, But for men and women, it's exactly the same thing. You can market it different. You can put another scent for the men. You can, and that's the other thing. Your branding might look different, but it's much of a muchness.
Yeah. So when you see these big companies roll out a men's range, I think my gut always says, and I never knew this because I never tried to someone like yourself, but inside my gut, I go, I can't see how this product is more applicable to men than women. It might just be psychologically appealing to me more because it's a bit more of a darker color and it resonates with my masculinity. Or, it says men on it. So I assume that it's obviously perfectly designed for me. And I think it's the same in some other industries too. And I think, so what you're saying is like, at the end of the day, if you have a good product, anybody can use it regardless of the gender, really.
Yes. I think it's all about the marketing, how you market that product. And you can take exactly the same on the inside of the bottle and just put it in something different. Maybe, as you said, more masculine looking packaging, and you market it to men. I think nowadays, and you would know better than I do in terms of marketing, it's interesting for me because people actually don't care that much what's inside, that actually, it's more about how it's being marketed, how people are perceiving it, how many influencers are using it. And that's a bandwagon that we all jump on, but that's actually sad because people don't really do their homework well. That I found that in terms of what is actually inside the bottle,
And why the price is the price, because essentially, someone might look at a product and go, it's a little bit more expensive, I'd rather buy the cheaper one. But the owner or the founder on the other side might not have had the ability to really educate them. And also at scale, it's very difficult to do. But it's a situation where people don't want to read. They don't want to be educated. They don't want to take the time to be educated. You obviously have a small percentage of the market that's going to be your diehard.
Yes.
I want to know everything possible about these ingredients, and they will stick to the product, probably forever. But I think mass adoption is just, what does the marketing say and who's using it, and let me give it a shot. Which is, it is a sad thing, because I think there's a lot of businesses out there who have amazing products who's never really going to be able to help anybody because obviously they can improve their marketing, but even if you did, the average day consumer is just so fixated on, what everybody else is using and what everybody else is saying, even though it's not always authentic or real.
Yeah. I think there's, especially in skincare, there's a lot of it words, like a collagen serum. You don't actually get anything with collagen in it, but it stimulates your skin to produce more collagen, but they say it's collagen that's in there. So it's interesting the ways people look at it and the ways they market it. Like there's a percentage, 0.5% retinol, but then if you look at the back, it's a retinol A, it's a diluted form of retinol, so and the end consumer, a lot of the times they do not read the labels. They read the niceties on the front, but they don't actually go and check what's inside. And you can get a vitamin C serum in any chain store in South Africa for 100 Rand or 130, and then it says it's got 40% vitamin C. But what is the vitamin C, and does it actually penetrate to where it needs to penetrate? So there's a lot of education, I think, that goes along with something like skincare.
That's literally what I was about to say, is like, I think having worked with some skincare companies, it is a tough sell, because I think most consumers, once they have a product that they're happy with, that fits their budget, it's very hard to sway them in another direction.
Yeah.
And that's where education comes in, because it's like really educating people about what's necessary. But my question to you is this, is that you've started the spa and there's some lessons learned, in that venture. What comes to mind when I ask about lessons learned for REALSKIN? Like, having built this brand, is there any specific lessons that you've learned from a business point of view?
Yeah, I think the first thing of having an actual product versus selling a service is that how are you going to distribute it? So your distribution channels is actually something you have to first have in place, maybe even before you have the product, You have to know where are you going to distribute it. That's something we didn't have, and we're still working on that, because it's important. How else are you going to get it to people? So obviously we all have online shops and stuff like that, but how are you going to actually get it to the people, and how are you going to get it to the spas and the salons to start using it and to start selling it? So I think that's a very big lesson in terms of product, is distribution.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing people focus on.
Yes.
They just think build it and people will love it and come. Yeah. And people will start asking you to distribute it themselves. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons, we spoke about Luke Nutrition.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons it's been so successful, is because from day one we've had, actually day 90, we started in October last year and we entered Clicks in February, March this year. But that relationship was already there.
Yes.
And I think obviously it helped make the brand more accessible and help build trust and credibility as well when people hear you in Clicks and whatnot. And if I had to compare the retail numbers 4 months in after starting with Clicks versus online, I think online was 5% of the total revenue. So we were fortunate enough, but those are relationships we've been building for years.
Yes.
Me and the partner will go way back. We go back 7 years. And the point I'm trying to make is now only online is catching up to the retail side of things. And obviously online is a bit more scalable, so it can go a little bit further potentially as well. But if you want to grow a business, where are you going to sell it? How are you going to sell it? It's like the last thing everybody thinks about. They spend so much money on the logo and the packaging and, maybe a couple of other things, setting up a website or whatnot, and they have zero resources left, whether that's money or connections or whatever it may be, in order to actually get into distribution channel. Is there anything else that comes to mind? So distribution is one. That's one lesson that you've learned. Anything else?
I won't say it's a lesson that I've learned, but I've realized this early on, is that brand awareness is so important. If you have a brand, and let's say REALSKIN 4 years from now, it's on everyone's lips, you can sell anything through that brand. Coca-Cola, I mean, it's a perfect example. We love the brand, so anything they give us under that, you actually don't even ask questions about it anymore. So it gets easier if you have an established brand, and there is
Like Apple, actually.
Yeah, like Apple.
Apple had to release a car. A lot of people are going to
Yes, yeah. You. It's just because we know what we get. You know what the quality is. So I think if you can establish a brand, and you can actually take that brand and diversify it into different sectors, bring out skincare, and then you bring out a hair product or whatever the case may be. If your distribution channel is up and running and your brand is out there, people know about your brand and people trust your brand, and you carry on giving high quality product to people, then they'll buy.
Listen, it's been really fun chatting to you. I think as coming closer to the end of our conversation, I would love to know, and this is just me, I don't know if everybody wants to know this, but I think in essence, what are the 3 things that you had to work on the most when it comes to yourself in your entrepreneurial journey? The 3 things that you've known you had to work on and that you've improved on, and that's why you think you've become, successful.
I think one of the big things is self-worth. There's a difference between self-esteem and self-worth. And I think it runs through everything you do in life, business, personal life, just to realize that you are worth it, that you deserve a business that flourishes. And because especially in the Afrikaans community, we are all, we were raised to be so polite and do not believe too much in yourself. Don't
be humble.
Be humble, but almost to a point where it's detrimental to you. So I think self-worth is a big thing for me.
I think, but money in the Afrikaans communities, I think how the Afrikaans people think about money in itself, I think everybody is it's almost like it's the devil.
Yes, and I think that's the second thing, to see money as a tool. And we also touched on this previously, but money buys you freedom. That's how I feel about it. I don't want money because it can buy me cars and more businesses and whatever, but it gives you the freedom of choice sometimes as well. When you get to a space in your business where you can decide who you want your clients to be. So in the beginning, obviously, we all have this perfect client, this persona that we actually market to. But at the end of the day, a lot of us, I'm not saying everyone, takes on any client because you want to make money. And I think when you get to a space where you can actually politely decline someone that's not for you, that's not in tune with what you're doing, then I think it's a good space to be in.
So we made that mistake early on. I think the first 6 months, I think we had this conversation as well. It's that's the lesson I learned the quickest. Is just to be very careful of who you actually give your time and energy to, and that goes for customers, clients, everything. Whether you're in the medical space, like my wife is a surgeon, same thing. In the beginning, she took every single patient, and now she's like, nope, you're too difficult.
Yes.
You're going to be an issue.
No.
I like your attitude. I'd rather go work with that guy. And it's not. I think a lot of people think that you have to be at a certain level to do that. I think it's also where you said comes with your self-worth and your self-esteem and your self-belief. It's I don't believe that I have to tolerate this.
Yes.
I know what I'm worth.
Yeah.
But again, when you've got your back against the wall and you want to cover bulls, obviously it's a different situation. It is tough to say no to those people then.
And then the third thing for me is just I started to trust my instinct.
Right.
And what my gut told me about business opportunities, about people, and also about, especially in business, when I need to get out of it as well. So sometimes it's a great journey, and then the journey is not that great anymore. If it doesn't serve you, and if you as a as a person, as an individual, become burnt out, or, you know, it's not something you like to do anymore, just ask yourself those questions. Do I want to stay here? And sometimes it's good to leave. You know, if you sell a business or you sell shares when it's still going well, because when you leave it for too long, it really messes up relationships. So if you're in a partnership and you feel like, you know, it might be the time to get out, do it while it's still positive, because otherwise you burn bridges, and we never want to do that.
I think what I'm hearing you say is also just being clear about what you want, and if it's no longer what you want, is being transparent about it.
Yeah.
And having those conversations.
Yeah.
Most people shy away from direct conversations and not conflict necessarily, but just confrontation. Like, hey, this is no longer what I expected it to be. And I've been very fortunate enough with partners. Like, I'm very completely biased about this, but I have empathy for people who haven't. Is that I'm just always very straight honest with how I feel. And I always try and say it in the most respectful way.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think sometimes we mince our words. So the other person, you feel like you've expressed yourself, but you've minced your words to such a point where the other person doesn't really know what you're saying. And they just go, thumbs up, all good, I get you. Meanwhile, they have no clue that you actually want this or that.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, where you can be maybe too candid or too assertive, where the other person feels offended.
Yeah.
And then goes, how do you feel that way? Why? I've been doing everything for you.
Yeah.
So I think the partners that I've had, it always just starts with and we've had very tough conversations. I've had about 3 proper business partners now. And I think it always starts with a very humble, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Like a very, my guard is down, I'm going to be super vulnerable and just tell you how I feel about a situation. Yeah. It might not be a true reflection of reality.
Yes.
But this is how I feel right now. And hopefully if you're dealing with someone on the other side who's maybe also self-aware, they can reflect on and ask themselves, is this a true reflection?
Yeah.
Maybe they can do some introspection.
Yeah.
And then you'll find that you're going to get to a conclusion very quickly. And because I don't believe that people are inherently trying to screw each other up.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think people are trying. I think everybody wants to cover their bills. I think everybody wants to survive. And the moment something threatens that, some people have the emotional maturity to handle it the right way and some people don't. So it's really then going, how can you be as open and vulnerable and respectful as possible to express your point of view? And are you dealing with someone on the other side who's self-aware enough to absorb that, process it, do the same exercise, and then communicate on how to go forward?
So I feel in any relationship in life that conflict and, you know, disagreements is so part of it. If there's no conflict and if you don't disagree, then I can't see 2 people working together, living together, because that's the only way that you can move forward
and grow
in any type of relationship. So in business, as in life, as in marriage, it's so important to have the discussions and to be open and honest and to know that both or how many partners there is, you know, you all still going in the same direction. And if 1 or 2 is not going in that direction, to rather cut the ties when it's still amicable, but just communication, open, honest communication, I think is extremely important.
We're scared for it. Like, nobody wants to, I mean, I know I don't want to let people down. So like from my side, I'm sometimes shying away from it. But I think the one thing the business has taught me is to just be as assertive and candid as possible in the most respectful way.
Definitely.
Because essentially, if you're going to stop mincing words and say things and that is kind of like only a slight degree of a true reflection of what you're trying to say, then all you're going to do is you're just going to have fluff. Nobody's going to really understand. Like, I was literally in a dinner meeting this week where there was clear intentions that we had to have a dinner, but when I kind of like, when we left, I was like, well, what was the point of that? What was he actually trying to say? And as much as I ask direct questions, I don't get direct questions back. So I can ask the direct questions, and then, it gets to a point but now it's up to me. I should actually go and say, like, listen, I'm still confused.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm completely, is this what I'm hearing? Is this what you're saying? But now what happens, most people will go and say, well, it is what it is. We'll just see how things unfold. But now that person might have an expectation. We had a dinner about it. We chatted about it, and this is the way forward. I'm sitting there going, I want to really be as respectful as possible and not offend him, but I have actually only 60% of an idea of where this conversation is going.
Yeah.
So it's now up to me to go, hey, listen, this is the situation. Just to confirm, this is how we're going to do things forward, right? And if I don't do that, it can lead to just awkward conversations in 6 to 12 months from now.
I just think I have this big thing about wasting time. I think we waste a lot of time trying to spare someone's feelings.
Yeah.
And also all these meetings. I cannot do meetings about things that we could have sorted out over an email or a WhatsApp or a, sometimes it's like one thing and we have to sit in a meeting for an hour and chit-chat about, and I just cannot do that. So I'm all for, using my time to the best of my ability, because I feel that time is my biggest commodity at this point in time. So it's my biggest currency. My time is really valuable, as is everyone else's. And if we can sort something out with a quick discussion, we don't need to have a big meeting and carry on and trying to spare someone's feelings.
Go around in circles.
Yeah.
And 100%. Listen, it was so lucky to have a chat with you.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's been absolutely lovely. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks.
So from my side, thanks for everybody watching, listening. And Rhona, I don't know if there's any final things that you want to say, but it was just great to have you, and I hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, Jandre, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. I think you're really empowering and inspiring a lot of people with this podcast, and also just what you do. It's quite amazing. The only thing I would like to say to the viewers and the listeners is follow your gut. It always knows the way.
100%. Get out of your head and get into your heart.
Yes.
Not that easy though, but it is possible. Cool. Have a good one. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.